Hello, this is wmpyr. Okay, I received a comment recently, and yeah, just wanted to address this comment because I think it's very important. I think it covers some good things. It's a good question essentially. It says, and it's referring to the force-to-force block. So in the force-to-force block, this person feels like by having both hands on the stick, like so. He just feels like it's going to make your own hands and knuckles vulnerable to being attacked by the other person. And then he basically says, if I were fighting someone who blocked like that, I would definitely attack their hands. And then he says, I can see this technique working during sparring where people wear gloves. Then it would be fine, but without it, then your bare hands are vulnerable. So what are your thoughts on this? And yeah, he brings up some really good points. So I'm here to address all of this. And the short answer is, if I were to directly answer his question, is like, are your hands vulnerable to being attacked? The answer is yes, it is 100%. Now, the viewpoint that this person has right here, I don't think is the correct viewpoint. And I think like a lot of people kind of have this kind of viewpoint. And to me, this is not a good viewpoint because to put it simply, okay, you have to understand that there are some techniques here and techniques and strategies that help you develop a skill set that is useful for real life, but you cannot view it as a literal translation, okay? The force-to-force block is a drill. It is not a literal. It try to make it as realistic as possible and as much as combat ready as it feels. It is still a development, and you have to view it that way. This person is viewing it as it's the final product, and he's viewing it as like if there is choices, and that is the wrong way to strategically be using the force-to-force block. It's not, I'm going, should I defang the snake, or should I use force-to-force block, or should I just attack the guy? It's not that kind of option, right? And you guys might be a little confused, might be hard to understand what I'm saying, but the simple point is kind of like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, okay? So grappling, fighting on the ground, right? You want to learn that skill and you want to have it in your arsenal, but in real life, I don't want to go to the ground. So I spent a lot of time and effort to learn grappling, but in a street situation, I definitely don't want to be going to the ground. So why learn it? Well, just in case, if I do end up on the ground, I know what to do. Because if it does happen to you and you don't know what to do, you're super screwed. Because I know what to do, if I end up on the ground, it's still bad. It's a bad situation, but it won't be as bad as if I didn't know it. And this subject has already been beaten to a dead horse, where yes, multiple opponents, the guy watching can just come by and stomp you on the head, soccer kick you, and stuff like that. What if there were weapons involved, or grappling on concrete is not a good idea? All these things as if it were an option. Like I said, I wouldn't deliberately try to go to the ground. It's a forced situation. Even if you see me shoot a double leg takedown, which is unlikely, but let's say I did shoot a double leg takedown and took the guy down to the ground, that was a forced situation. Maybe the other guy, I felt like if I stood toe to toe with the guy that he was going to knock me out, that he was just that much better with the stand-up striking or whatever. So I didn't have a choice, okay? You have to understand that. So the force-to-force block is kind of that way. It's something that you have as a base, okay, and skill-wise, you develop from it. So like the video that I put up recently, fairly recently with Sensei Pedro, where we're doing the force-to-force block, you notice that Sensei Pedro is doing literal force-to-force block. I am not. So mine is already evolved in that sense. And that's exactly what the drill is there for. It's there for you to evolve it. But the concept of the drill is super important and is super useful, beneficial for a real life altercation, confrontation. But in a real life situation, do I want to use the force-to-force block? No. I'm very clear about that it is not something I want to do. And it's kind of also the same like in boxing, okay? They have the double forearm shields where they're blocking like this. There is not a boxer in the world that wants to do that. That is, option-wise, this is terrible, but they use it. Why? Because it's realistic, it's beneficial, and if you don't, you could get knocked out. So even the world's greatest athletes, you know, the kickboxers and stuff, there are times where they just say, you know what, I'm not going to be countering, I'm not going to be attacking, I'm not going to be doing the setups, I just need to do this and weather the storm. And they just have to put their pride aside and do this, and it's not the best defense by any means. And there's many ways to get around it for the opponent, just like what this guy's saying, like I would totally attack the hands if someone was blocking. The same thing can be said about this. I would go with a hook from the side. I would try to split through the middle with an elbow. You know, there's uppercuts that can come in. So you hook the guy hard and then the arm starts to, you know, come down, or if it starts to come up, then the body opens. If the arm starts to come down, then maybe, you know, you can start aiming for temples. You know, I mean, there's ways around it for sure. Every technique has pros and cons. So it's not about that. I hope you guys can understand. So there is not a boxer on the planet Earth that doesn't have this. If they don't have this, they're going to get knocked out at some point. You can't always just be evading, bobbing and weaving and parrying that the whole time. No matter how good you are, eventually there will come a time where you're going to have to just take it. And this sucks. It's not, you know, it's definitely not what you're aiming for if you're a technical boxer. So it is 100% falls in the same category, but just like this, it is a very practical, good base to have. And if you're really good, then you'll hopefully never have to use it. But it's a foundation, and you build off of it. That's why the force-to-force block is so good, in my opinion. There's so many people learn the art of Escrima, Kali, Arnis, and they start at such a more advanced technical skill set that they're developing, and they don't even know it. They don't even know what they're doing is advanced stuff. And without all the base, without a solid foundation, it's going to be very hard to be using that in a real life situation. So it's just something to think about. I like the force-to-force block because it gives you that solid foundation. And then, like I said, if you don't use it, it's always going to be there for you that you could always fall back on. But you know, there are definitely better and better things to do. And that's essentially what you want to do in a combat situation, is take it towards better and better and better, you know. But without the base, the structure, it's easy for it to collapse. So that's the best explanation that I could give you guys, you know. And who knows, depending on some people, it may not be for you. You may not. You know, everybody's different, and some people, you know, it doesn't work for them. So who am I to say? But I'm just saying that it is awesome. Okay, so that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.